Good evening, everyone. The time is 7 o'clock. I appreciate you being here. We're now going to proceed with the committee of the whole for April 7, 2025 for the Big Spring School District. So I'll call that meeting to order at this time. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none. We'll move on to presentations. We have two presentations this evening to update us on some school issues. One is on some furniture, and the other is with our school police. I believe we're very lucky to have three wonderful policemen in our buildings each day. I've had many communications, conversations, and observed them in their duties, and I think they're doing a good job. I've also personally, not interviewed, but talked to a lot of teachers who say they're giving you what you need, and every teacher has responded that they really appreciate the work that they're doing, not only to keep our schools safe, but also to give guidance. And I think to build that extra rapport with students. I feel that is happening. I see them being at lunch, before school, all those things that would be potential, I guess, hot spots, but they're quenching that very well and making sure the students are feel treated with respect and things are going well. So Mr. Stern, Mr. Koenig, and Mr. Schlusser, our three school police. I don't know who's on deck. Mr. Stern, you're first. Somebody's going to speak, I guess. Mr. Koenig's going to speak. Very good. I was wrong. I communicated. Welcome, Mr. Koenig. Thank you.
I think it went by age. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for having us. What we're going to do real briefly here is just take us from August to where we're at now, kind of show how we get started, show where we're at now, and way you all will have an idea where we came, what we've done, what we've gathered, and what our daily jobs would be. So you go back that Director Stern was hired in August of 2024. At that time, he worked alongside of the two current SROs that we have for the Cumberland County Sheriff's Department, and he worked in that capacity to the end of December of 2024. During that time, though, he had the task of beginning the process of creating the Big Spring School District Police Department. Along with Dr. Garante, they started out by starting our department policy book that we have. They created the uniforms, which you can see. Basically, this is our uniform. We'll go over some of that stuff here just briefly. We got our first police vehicle. We've got Director Stern got us MOPEC certified. Now, MOPEC is the Municipal Police Officer Educational Training Commission. They are in charge of the Act 120, which is actually our police academy, and that's a very big accomplishment to get it certified, and that's the big start to create the police department. Not every school can say that. We started out being certified and approved to issue summary citations, and we are currently looking into being able to investigate and deal with misdemeanors, which I think will save Pennsylvania State Police a lot of time, and I think we can keep that sort of thing more in-house. I think that's a great thing for us. Director Stern obtained our ORI number, and what that does is that actually recognizes our PD through the FBI and the state police, so we can use the NCIC, and we can actually file charges. So he did a lot of that work prior to us getting up here and getting started. I mentioned that we had our uniforms. Just so you do realize, we have exterior vests, which you can see here, versus the underneath vests. This is a lot more comfortable. It's really 2025 policing. It's a good thing. We got approved with the Glock 9mm Model 45 handguns. We are certified to carry that, and we do have to certify every year for that. So that's a yearly thing. We already had our force and control tactics training. Again, that's yearly. We have that. We have our first aid and our CPR, which is certified every 2 years. We have that behind us. And every year we must do the MOPEC legal updates. That's 16 hours of updates that every police officer, municipal police officer in Pennsylvania goes through. So we're up to date on everything when it comes to that part. We're not limited to this list, but this is just a list of our basic duties, our basic days as school police officers. One of the first things we do is we assist in getting the kids off the bus and into the school in a safe manner, and we're usually all outside during that time. When school gets in, we do the interior and exterior door checks on a daily basis, and that's going around to every door and just making sure. Do we find sometimes doors aren't latched correct? Sure we do. But that's why we're doing, and that's why we're there. We monitor the hallways, and we monitor the bathrooms, and we also monitor class changes. That's when all the kids are going through, and we try to be out there and be amongst the kids, be out there so we can see what's going on and just be a part of it. Lunchtime, we do assist with the staff, the school staff, on lunches. So we're out there during all 2-3 lunches, whatever they have. We also assist with any student interviews that the administration would ask us to be involved in. I know I personally work a lot with Mr. Fry on the interviews, and it's kind of a neat thing. Gives a chance to feed off each other. Also gives him sometimes a different view of different things. And it works very good. So anytime that they ask, we're there to do it, and it's all three schools. We do conduct our own investigations. We have a reporting system called CNET, and that's a lot of our county municipal police departments use, and that's up and running. So we do document things in what we call CNET. Really, we have ongoing school safety assessments on a daily basis. I mean, as we're walking around, we're always looking for anything that we could better, or just school safety issues, and we have done that. The biggest thing that I think that we do is we create and build relationships with the staff and the students on a daily basis, and we all three do that. It's a matter of just having the students get to know you, having the staff get to trust you. I know I personally walk into class as I sit down. I'm always welcomed. The students get to know you. They do trust you more. They come up and talk to you, and that's really an important thing that we do. And finally, at the end of the day, we try to get the kids back on the bus as safely as we can. So I mean, that's a daily basis, and just the job that we do on a daily. After school sporting programs, we are covering that right now by adjusting our schedules. Meaning, if I'm working a track meet tomorrow, I may come in at 11 and work till 7. What Dr. Grante and we worked out is we do cover the high school and the middle school first. So Officer Slusher is the one that comes in. If I work tomorrow 11 to 7, he'll come in and cover the middle school until I get in. If Director Sturm works a baseball game on Thursday, Officer Slusher then comes into the high school and he'll work that area till 11 o'clock till he comes in. We're going to cover the middle school and the high school first that way. And so far it's been working out. We did the winter schedule and we're in the spring schedule right now. So we're doing, I think, a fairly good job with covering the sporting events. When the playoff time came, we actually all three worked because of the crowd, the size of the crowd, and that worked out really nice. That's really it. I mean, we did do a trial vape sensor through a Triton Sensors, and we did it for about approximately 4 weeks. And what that was is we kind of got into a loan, whatever you want to call it, and we used the vape sensors in the high school. Throughout the trial, the sensor was moved to 3 different bathrooms, girls and boys. And just to give you a little idea, the results of the alerts varied. On one occasion, there was a large group to identify one or a few of the administrations to search. So in other words, when the vape go off, the kids don't hear the vape, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, they don't hear the sensor going off. It's an alert. So it's not something that they hear and they run out on. On 6 occasions, the administration was notified the vape sensor going off, and they just weren't available to do the searches. At this point in our police department, the administration is still doing the searches of the students. We can assist as far as watching, but as right now they're doing the searches. So 6 occasions they just weren't available. On 3 other occasions, students were pulled and searched by the administration, and vapes were located. School discipline was given, and on 2 occasions, citations for disorderly conduct were issued by us, by Director Sturm. Matter of fact, he was the one that did it, because there was a second or subsequent offense. During the searches, sometimes the vapes are not located by the administration because of the students hide them sometimes in areas that they kind of feel won't be searched by the administration, i.e. like underwear, girls and guys. To assist with that, there is a metal detecting wand that could be purchased to assist with that down the road. And what that does, it would go off, and it would give us a little more leverage to say, hey, the wand's going off in areas where they weren't searched. They would be good to use at sporting events also, the wands themselves. So just an idea that we did have the vapes in. We gave it a shot with them. We had success with them. At this time, it really ends, kind of took you from where we started to where we're at now. I think we're all very happy to where we're at. I think we're satisfied where we're at, but there's always room to grow, and we're interested in growing as a police department. We've gotten great help from Dr. Durante and Dr. Sanders. I think we all get along. I hear nothing but positive things from the staff, from the administration, and that's really our presentation for tonight, unless somebody would have questions.
Well, first of all, thank all 3 of you for keeping us safe. I think that's our first priority. Second of all, for the rapport you're building with our students. I think that's paramount. Heading off things that they might do, but now they know that somebody's watching. Also, I think in sporting events it's extremely important that we have protections for our community, as well as our students, as well as our athletes, so that they feel safe. So, any comments from any of the board members?
Yeah, I have just a question there for Mr. Cully or Mr. Slusher. I know the focus is on the high school and the middle school, and I guess Officer Slusher rotates between the elementaries.
Yeah.
I guess on a regular basis, or I'm hoping maybe on an irregular basis, so whomever may not know you're there or not there.
Lately, the last couple of weeks, I have an office at Oak Flat, but I've been going to Newville. Last couple of weeks, I'll spend half a day at each school, and I'll just change it up every day which day I start at.
Yeah, as far as Mount Rock, I do my door checks here usually right after I come in, and then I'm usually between 9:30 and 10. Since it's walking distance for me, I go down and do the Mount Rock checks as far as the doors. If anything comes up investigatory wise, Officer Slusher still is going to be called in for that. But Mrs. Ward also knows that I'm there. I usually stop in and tell her when I'm checking the doors. It's something that we'll work together on, and it works out that way. Works out that way nicely.
You have the district office?
Yes, that's usually me.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have a question on the annual certifications. When you say annual, is that like school year annual, August to August, or is it January to December?
For us, it's usually January to January. I mean, as long as we qualify with our weapons on a yearly basis, that's good. MOPEC is January to December on your updates. We do them. We've been doing them via the computer, but it's 16 hours, and that's every municipal police officer goes through that. Your first aid is just every 2 years. It could be March to March. It could be April to April. It's just every 2 years. We have to make sure they're updated.
I'd also like to say thank you to Officer Philip. I see you every morning when I drop my son off at the He's out there either directing traffic or at the entryway. And just thank you. And thank you to Director Stern and Officer Slusher.
Yeah.
Thank you for all you do.
It's a fun thing for all of us. I mean, as far as the kids, very good response. I mean, the responses that we get are very good. I mean, it's positive. You know, I probably giggle more during the day than most of you guys. It's fun. Kids are fun. They come up with funny things, and they know why we're there, and we're all there to keep them safe.
Again, thank you. Could you just say one word about where you are with the state police and the sheriffs or anything else if you need support or assistance? How is that directed, or how is that call made?
Our first backup is going to be the Pennsylvania State Police, and our relationship is very good there. I mean, we've worked with them in our past positions. Right now, we are trying to work with both PSP and the Cumberland County District Attorney's Office to try to get us to be able to handle the misdemeanor end of our job. And I think that's not going to be a problem. It's just a matter of getting there. But, as far as working the other day, I was up here walking, and there was 2 state cops that we bumped into that came in. So they're still coming around to make sure they know the layout of the schools, which is good. The relationship that I personally have had with Pennsylvania State Police on a couple of investigations have been really good. He's gotten back to me on where they're at, and sometimes that wasn't a fact in other years. They would come in and do investigations, and the school really wouldn't know where they were at on certain things when it comes into the misdemeanor world. This year, I've gotten emails upon emails. I forward the reports. So, I think our relationship probably got better because we are here, and I think it's just going to grow. I really do.
Very good. Thank you. Any other comments? Thank all 3 of you for being here. Thanks for keeping us safe. Thank you.
Director Sturm does have some patches. He gave a few out. If you want to go up there and give them out now so they have them. Guys will all have one of our patches that you can hang up in your living room. Put it on a hat.
Very good. Thank you.
That was also designed, by Dr. Grante and Director Sturm. So, they did a fantastic job setting this up.
All right, I think next we have Mrs. Hayes. So she's going to have Kevin Moore and Brad Fry is also here, 2 of our principals of the middle school, to talk about some middle school furniture. So I had an opportunity to speak with Kevin out in the lobby. I'll get to share the table in, and he's going to share some information for us. Thank you, Mr. Moore, for being here.
Thank you for having me. So, good evening, and thank you again for having me. Before I begin, I believe it's valuable to address also my background, how I landed here, and why this matters, I think, for me as well as hopefully the Big Spring. Both my undergraduate and my graduate degrees are in education, and I taught for 10 years at the middle school and the high school level prior to beginning work with Corbett. In that process, started to work with Corbett, and I landed here. So when I think of designing space and thinking of kids and putting them at the center, I like to lean into the why, how, and the what. So structure the presentation, keeping it focused on fact base, and leaning into the why, how, and what of this presentation. So why? An opportunity to create an additional flexibility within the classroom to support holistic approach. Thinking about the kids. So in particular, the chair that Big Spring is looking at is backed by research. In 2018, this chair was put through a test of research, focusing on the inherent student participation, retention of learning, as well as comfortability, working in groups and movement. In that moment, I think the part that is uncovered, and interestingly enough, when you talk with students, is when you think about the opportunity to move, have a level of blood flow, making sure that there is stimulation from the mind and the body, leading towards an inherent retention of learning. When you go into that process a little bit deeper, giving them autonomy. Some students learning best while they're standing up or walking. Some students learning best while they're sitting and talking. And so a lot of research has been done in that level. When you look at the breadth of this research, it's across 12 different schools, a variety of ages, K through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12. You will see that this is also happening at the college level as well. All right, there we go. So how does this happen? In November is when I first started discussions with the district and thinking about problem identification, thinking about kids, their comfortability, what their vulnerability is in terms of sitting in seats that may or may not be the appropriate size, their ability to move and function, and through conversation with the district and discussing multiple pieces of furniture and identifying what is the most important value. Making sure that we're thinking about not just functionality, but also price and aesthetic. We all appreciate when we walk into a place that we connect with personally. And giving students the opportunity to connect with that place gives them a reason perhaps to be excited to walk into the classroom in addition to all the other reasons they might be excited. So in that process, we identified and looked into the Intellect Wave desk and the Ruckus mobile chair. So here are the two pieces. I brought samples out so that you can not only see them, but experience them, physically see how they're made. And what I'll start with is the Intellect Wave desk, traditional by nature, certainly a surface in terms of that is sizable and appropriate. At the same point, if you look at the curve of the legs, giving student access and mobility in the event that they are in a wheelchair, perhaps, that they can still pull up to that desk. In addition, that they are able to swing in and swing out. It is not just a back and forth movement, but it is a full rotation of 360 degrees, being able to get in and out of the desk. You'll see on the sample that I brought, there is a book box. Notice it's not in this picture. It is not part of the quote. Reason being is in which this way that students move with their books or their backpack here at the school. It's also supplemented by the rack on the bottom of the chair. So the Ruckus chair is the one that I also brought. The focus of this chair and I think the particular nature is that you can sit on it 4 different ways. You can sit on it traditionally, sitting face forward. You can sit on it backwards by straddling it. You can sit on it sideways by kind of having one arm up on it. And you can also perch on the back. Its weight capacity is for 400 pounds. You can sit on the back of it and sit with your legs up in the air of upwards of 400 pounds as well. The rack on the bottom is designed such that you can put your backpack or any belongings that you might need or have. The bottom of that is metal from a functionality standpoint. Construction of both of these pieces, KI is the manufacturer. KI is based out of Wisconsin and is an engineering company that focuses on research and design of furniture. Both of these pieces are put through an extensive test in terms of their construction, to which I'll address on the next slide around warranty as well. The one thing I'll point out in student interaction, one of the things that I focus on in particular is making sure that we're engaging with students in the design process. Multiple times we have seen this chair selected over just about any other chair. That said, this chair is more than the conventional chair. We do typically see that it is paired with a traditional desk because there's more focus on student interaction and comfortability and touch with a student on the chair side versus the desk side. Additionally, you will notice that the chair is on casters in this image, and it does come with additional options that we can discuss on the next slide as well. Logistically, one of the things I want to call out is the pricing. So we ran multiple scenarios and all scenarios are on CoStars. The standard casters come in just above $209,000. You can also have felt glides on this chair as well for $205,000. And then there's pressure locking casters which allow for the chair to roll, but then as soon as you sit, it engages a certain level of weight that locks the caster. And that is $238,000. One of the things I'll also break down in there is the chair and frame warranty is lifetime. I have been out. I have had to fix chairs of this nature. It fixed immediately. Those parts and pieces are ordered. I can tell you I've been out on site two times in the last 4 years for one single chair each time. The caster warranty is 15 years. And one of the things I'll point out, and it's not on this presentation, the glide warranty is 1 year. Specifically the felt glide. Felt being a level of friction on the floor, it gets a little bit additional wear and tear as you move it in and around. Whereas the friction with a caster is inherently less. The cost of casters, let's say that there's a moment where there's abuse to the chair and it doesn't fall under warranty. The cost of 4 casters is $5.50. In 4 years of me with Corbett personally, I have replaced 1 caster on the Ruckus chair. The other notes within this is the glides and casters. The frame is a different height. So in the event that you start with glides and you say, this chair we would prefer to move with casters, or vice versa, you start with casters and you say, we want glides, the height and the dimensions of the frame are different because the caster is slightly higher. And in order for comfortability and function, we look at 10 to 12 inches between the seat height and the desk surface height to ensure for students to fit appropriately. So you would need a new frame to that chair in order to switch from glide to a caster or vice versa. That said, any questions that I might help out with? And I don't know if, Clarissa, you want to jump in?
I'll just jump in just real quick. Good evening. First of all, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to look at the furniture. And I want to go back to what Kevin had said about the why. The furniture, and I've been here for 10 years now in the district, I believe probably dates back, maybe Mr. Fry could help me with this, probably clear back to when it was the high school here. I'm just guessing. And I think as a principal, the hardest thing for me, and I get emotional, I feel like every time I say this, is that you go in classrooms and I feel like our students, almost like a different breed. Like I have students right now in 8th grade, 7th grade that are over 6 foot tall. So if you've ever looked and sat in one of those desk chair combos, the saddest thing is when I'm in a classroom and we're forcing kids to fit into this chair, and middle school is hard enough already, and then not to be able to sit in those desk chair combos. So that kind of speaks to the why and the urgency to get furniture in there. Whenever Mr. Fry and I looked at some of the samples, we looked at, okay, what are we seeing in the classroom? The reality is I have classrooms right now that have about 560 square feet, which is very small. So when you are going into these spaces and we have curriculum like Amplify, Illustrative Math, that asks us to collaborate on the daily, it is extremely hard for teachers to do that because they're having to move these desk chair combos and it just doesn't fit. So we were looking, okay, we have this amazing curriculum. We have these teachers that are like artists in their classrooms trying to develop these amazing lessons to engage students. So we were looking for those ingredients. And when we came here and we looked at some of the samples, it just really spoke to like what our needs are in the classroom. And I'll go back to the chair. Right now, if you go in some of our classrooms, book bags, all right, our students don't use their lockers. They have a choice, but they like to carry their book bags around. So you could go into a classroom that have these chair desk combos in, and there's an aisle where they place their bags along the side, and we have athletes, so you have the athletic bags in there too. It's very hard. It's hard to be mobilized and be moving around, and then we're asking our teachers to do, flexible grouping, collaboration, all of these pieces. So right there, that chair, again, the book bag goes right underneath it. It's part of that. And then the ability for a student to sit there and use the back, almost like a flat surface, to be able to write on it is like, wow, that's like amazing. And the reason for the desk there not to have it underneath is because no book bag is going to fit underneath that desk. There's no purpose, no need. So you just need the flat surface for the Chromebooks and for some of the instructional groupings and such. But that chair right now, I could see some of our teachers, certain lessons, pushing those desks aside and truly teaching their lesson with those chairs right there in the center. And I know our teachers will do that. They're amazing at their craft. So that just speaks to some of the why for those pieces. And again, just thank you for the opportunity to be looking at it and hopefully getting rid of the desk chair combos.
Thank you, Mrs. Mays.
Yes.
Mr. Moore, a couple of questions I have. Number one, how easy are they to clean? What's the surface like if someone would use a marker on the top of the desk? How would we go about maintaining and cleaning these pieces?
So, number of options. We actually have a list of approved products and materials that are general. You can find them at any custodial closet. I've used a magic eraser, and so I would say your typical cleaning products. I'll give you an example. When Hurricane Ida hit 4 or 5 years ago, part of our office was flooded, and some of those sat in water for 4 days. And we pulled them out, took a power washer to them, and we still use them as samples. They're not those ones, though.
And secondly, the students that sit in chairs, have you done any study of how many times they sit forward, reverse, sideways, using the stools? I mean, how often do those different applications happen?
It is, it's really enjoyable to watch. One of the things that I think is most important is not only for us to be on the front end, but also be on the back end of when we go into schools to make sure that we're doing our own practice of research. I took teachers through Great Valley Middle School last week, and I would say that about half of the kids are sitting forward. The other half are choosing to sit any other way. And I would say at times you do see students sitting and perching on the top. One of the most impactful stories I heard specifically was one of my students had the teacher said one of my students had a difficult night, and student came in and admittedly said, I'm afraid I'm going to doze off. It's just been a tough time for me this week. Do you mind if I perch on the back of my seat so I can take control of my learning? That was to me a game changer story. That they're taking ownership of their moment as opposed to dozing and learning and losing their moment.
And to change the height of the desk, they can be adjusted, is that correct?
Correct. The desks themselves, in the quote provided, are fixed height. You can have a height adjustable option, yes. The height adjustable option can go down to 27 inches, up to 31 inches.
Other questions from board members, Lisa?
I have a question for Mrs. Mays. Mrs. Mays, we have a decision between now the gliders and the casters. And I was under the impression that if they didn't want the casters, they could just remove them. But now we know it's a different frame and they can't just do that. Have you talked to the teachers to see what their preference is? What is the majority of the preference for this meeting? Do they want casters or do they want gliders?
I think that would be our next step. Again, we just had to be able to share that with you and see if we're on board with moving forward with this, and we can definitely pull them to see. In hearing him just speak right now about the felt piece of it versus the casters, I would lean personally towards the caster piece of it, knowing that there's more to be replaced, correct? Is there only like a year, did you say?
Yeah, a year for the felt.
A year with the felt, and we definitely want to have longevity with the investment that you guys are putting in.
So what you're saying is if we would approve this evening, then you would poll the teachers to see if they prefer, because then we could change to the glider.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's important to get their feedback, and again, to be able to share some of what we're sharing then tonight too. And I think the other thing, and I don't think you mentioned this, is about the cleaning. So for our custodians too, because that chair, it could take up a lot of space. I don't want to make more work for our custodians. Doesn't it go like... It's really cool. It goes right on top so that they can sweep underneath, right underneath it. So it just sits up like that. Because that was the one thing when I first saw it, I was like, oh my goodness, my custodians are going to have to be moving this around. What does this look like? So it would go just up like that and then sweep underneath.
They do stack on top of each other too. I think it's all like 4 high, 5 high.
Yeah.
Mr. Moore, can you speak into the safety? Is there any reports of how many kids have fallen off or how stability they are? Any reports you've seen? Because I'm sure coming back to the company, if there's been any concerns.
Sure. Give you some context of our size in terms of the region that we cover. We cover all of Pennsylvania, all of Delaware, southern Jersey, the majority of New York State, all of West Virginia. Any claim comes through our office and goes directly to KI. In 4 years, I've not seen one claim.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Evansdale, go ahead.
I have a question. Is the felt pads the only option, or is there another option for like nylon?
There is a nylon option and a steel option. All three options from a felt, nylon, and steel, there are certain recommendations based on the style of flooring, whether it's LVT, tile, terrazzo. So we could certainly go into the different variety of options. Reason I chose felt for the purpose of this presentation is felt is the most expensive. So you know that if you go to a nylon or a glide, it is slightly less and by all means no meal.
What is the warranty for nylon?
Great question. I would have to confirm, but I would say you're probably in the 5 to 10 year warranty.
Thank you.
Yes, I just had a question about the desk part of it. It looks as though it would be a little top heavy, but I understand it's not very easy to tip over. Am I correct?
Correct. I sat on it with Mr. Fry and Mrs. Nace, and I rocked and rolled around on it. We went through the same test with Pequea Valley School District of multiple different desks and had myself sit on it and wiggle it. The cantilever base of that is designed to bend so that there is resistance, as opposed to immediate, if you have 4 legs, it immediately will tip. There's no give.
But you said that was you. So what did I say?
We can trial that. But no, I did make him because I was like, I know middle school kids, and I'm like, how is that chair too not going to be tipped over, especially if you say it could be used like as a stool. He was on it. I actually took pictures of him feet up and everything. That thing did not budge or do anything. Like I was like, wow, that was crazy.
So your weight capacity is 350 pounds for that desk. Okay.
I have another question.
Go ahead, Mr. Evansdale.
As far as middle schools, how many middle schools in our local area have these types of desks and chairs?
Great question. You have several middle schools in Lancaster County. You have a middle school in Adams County. You have, I don't know if you want me to address this, but you also have several elementary schools as well in Adams County. And then you have a few middle schools in Dauphin County that currently have quotes that are seeking these out.
I have a question. Is there different sizes on those chairs?
There are. So you can actually have a 15-inch tall chair or 18-inch tall.
What's the recommendation those schools are going to get?
For middle school grade level, it is 18 inches. So for grades 6 through 12 is 18 inches.
Thank you.
Mrs. Nace. So this is a rather large expenditure. It's about 2 times as much as a normal chair or desk. Did you reach out to any other companies? Did you get trial hardware from any other company? Well, why are you going with this company whenever it's so much more expensive when I can get a plush office chair for less than just a chair on the set?
And I think it just came by reputation. The company and other districts that were using it, and that's who we partnered with.
So the answer is you didn't try out any other thing. You're just one product, one solution.
Well, and I didn't know the opportunity was. I didn't know the opportunity was going to be right here in front of us this quickly. So again, we partnered with them, got theirs. Again, several districts have used it around us, so we want the reputation to be with the product to make sure that they can replace and such. So.
Mrs. Mace, I can answer your question as to partially the age of those. Mr. Pickensdale and I can confirm confirm that they were in the high school when we attended back in the 80s
Oh, my.
and 90s. So those desks are 35, 40 plus years old.
They're good quality. They're still in one piece, but obviously our students are much taller and struggle.
I've confirmed with some students as well.
Yeah.
They're all in one. You can't push the desk away from the chair. And my son's tall. He said some of them are very uncomfortable. And I've talked to other students that find it hard to squeeze in and out of the little area trying to get in and out of them. They're just angry. They're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
According to the students I've touched.
Other comments from the board? Yes.
I'm one of those over 6-foot students, and I have no issue getting into middle school desks. In fact, there was multiple sizes for those desks. Are we just having one size now, or is we still have the desks that are built for the larger kids? Because I was one of the larger kids, and I automatically looked for the bigger desk when I went into a classroom.
When you walk in, they pretty much are all the same. They're uniform that are in those classrooms. Yeah, and there's some that, I mean, I'm sure Dr. Garanti would love to share. It's in 8th grade, 7th grade, some in 6th grade as well. But you go in and it's pretty much one size fits all. The majority of them are in our ELA math and social studies. Science have the tables for the labs. Yeah.
So 500 are being suggested. How many classrooms would that do approximately?
I sent Dr. Garanti has all that information. We took a look at that even like, I think just to get numbers 2 years ago. I was like trying to, I think as soon as you came on board, I was probably the first thing I brought to your attention is the need for that furniture to be replaced. So he has all of that in a spreadsheet that he could share with you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the board? Yes.
Yeah, so I just alluded to those desks. They're still on sale. You can still buy those desks. They come in multiple different sizes. So why are we going with a complete replacement instead of just buying a couple desks that fit the taller kids? It seems to me like we're trying to replace a whole bunch of furniture. And you haven't said any one word to this furniture being broken down and unusable and needing to be replaced other than it's aged well. Just because something's older doesn't mean it doesn't still function.
I'd agree, but now with our curriculums that we have, a lot of them are asking for that collaboration and flexibility to be able to collaborate. It is very difficult seeing those classrooms and trying to do that with that combo. Currently, some of our classrooms then go down to utilize our LGR or our Commons. So if you think about it, you have a 42-minute class. You go in, you take attendance, then you take 2 minutes to transition a class to an LGR to have that flexibility and ability to do that. 2 minutes to come back, you're losing 4 to 5 minutes of instructional time for every class they have to do that. So I feel like this right here would be a great investment with regards to the curriculum and again, just for what we're trying to propose and do with our students.
And we can get a separate desk and chair combination for $160. That's without a bulk deal versus the $300 per set one here. So I'm not seeing the need for such an expensive expenditure versus just getting a different setup altogether.
And that's why I spoke when I spoke about the chair piece, because when you go in for some of the settings, 560 square feet is not a lot. So we have the book, you'll go in, you see the desk combos, or even if we went with a desk separate from a chair, there's again no place for the book bags and such, so they just get piled up. And then again, that just defeats the purpose of, okay, can we be flexible and mobile and get the kids together to do what we want for the lesson?
Are you having any difficulty with students not wanting to sit in them chairs, period? Is there any student like don't want to get in there, or stand during class, or anything?
Yeah, actually, I would say 2 weeks ago, a teacher had reached out to me asking if we had those wobbly stools, like I think elementary primarily uses for students. Now that I think would be a safety concern at the middle level, but there's definitely a need for students to get up, be mobile, and just be able to move around a little bit more because the student was definitely struggling sitting in a desk combo. And that was at the 6th grade level. Yeah.
I like the concept of the desk and chair, I like the concept of mobility and flexibility, like you're saying. I have a hard time justifying $250,000 to replace chairs when something is functional, when the people in my township, when I sleep on their front porches, are expressing to me that they are worried about losing their houses because they can't pay their taxes.
I hear you.
I have a problem. I just talked to someone the other night, and talked to people that express the same interest, or same issue. I like the idea in theory. I think it would be awesome. I can justify spending that kind of money, but like I said, it's been half the amount. I guess that's usual.
I think too, like part of our job too is we're really trying, our teachers are trying hard to keep students here, not going to cybers and such, so they're creating these amazing lessons based upon the curriculum. I just feel like having something like that to help with those educational experiences would pay off by being able to have these students stay here, stay engaged, and just have an amazing educational academic experience.
I'd like to add that none of the data supports what you just said. All the stuff we've gotten from the community, none of the parents have been communicating to us that the reason they left the district was because of the comfort of the chairs. So I wouldn't go there.
I think of tying it to the educational experience though. Like again, our teachers are trying to be creating experiences academically. Like if there would be a 7th grade, let's say ELA Amplify lesson, I could definitely see one of my 7th grade English teachers taking this desk, putting it aside when it's not needed, pulling the chairs together, doing reading circles, things that the kid's gonna walk away and talk about at the dinner table.
And again, they could do that with a much cheaper option, not a $200 chair and a $100 and some desk.
I do have a comment if I may. I will remind everyone that we did have over a $5 million surplus last year, and that this is already included in this year's budget. It's already included in the budget for this year. And something else again.
Any comments from the community? We do not need to necessarily vote on this evening. This is a presentation that we can look at as a board. Any questions? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. I'd like to keep these brief, but
I have a question about the difference in the price. I think you were told that what is being quoted is a certain price, but that if you ask for the adjustable frame, it's another price and it's a higher price. And I think the board should be aware of what that differential is.
Thank you. Ma'am, could you state your name, please, for the record? Thank you very much.
Sally Winder.
Thank you, Sally.
Mr. Wardle, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Does the company offer any type of teacher training, like to help facilitate use of these chairs in classrooms for teachers that maybe aren't as comfortable with that model of instruction?
Good question. Mr. Moore?
I can't hear what the question was.
Question was, Mr. Eppensteel, does the company offer any teachers training on how to best utilize the chair? Mr. Moore, would you at least address that for just a quick second? Go ahead.
Yes. Sorry, excuse me. Yes. There are a set of 4 of us that are former educators that all work for the company that travel around our territory to train teachers, administrators, and district leadership.
Is that included in the cost?
Yes.
Go ahead and make the comment, please.
I'll have more to say about this at the next meeting, but I just want to say we do not need to spend money just because we have it. We got into a position where we had to keep raising taxes because we were spending money just because we had it. We do not need $200 chairs. I am a taxpayer. I can barely make these taxes every year. And I am telling you right now, no, absolutely not. This is frivolous. It is ridiculous. $200 for a child's chair? I don't care if that child learns empathy from a chair. It's nonsense.
Thank you for your comment. Mrs. Booth?
I had a question about, you had said about how you've been selling them out in this large area. A couple things about the background of the chair. How long have you been selling the chair? About how many of these chairs have you sold over the last 4 years? You mentioned 4 years, you only compared like 2 casters, but of how many?
Sure. So KI as a company and Corbett themselves have been around for 8 decades. In that time, the company itself, there's the same caster goes on a number of chairs. Specifically, I would say that we are looking at approximately, I would say around 20,000 chairs across the Northeast region that we work.
So of about 20,000 chairs being sold, you would be called out for, you've only seen about 2 casters across properties.
So, great question. So let me, I guess, be more specific. The 2 casters I'm referring to are the ones that have personally come to me. So of the ones that personally I have worked with, I would say that I'm looking in and around approximately 2,000 to 2,500 chairs over the last 4 years, in my time specifically at Corbett.
Also, as far as Mrs. Nace, I think that's all I have to do. There was one more thing I thought about manufacturing methods. How many students are in middle school? The last numbers I have, we only have 545 students, middle school students that are in person and Paola. What is our actual number of in-school?
That's about right. That's about right. I would say it's maybe a little over 550. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, we've discussed this a lot in the committee of the whole.
Can I,
Yes.
may I just make a comment?
Yes, Mr. Oldham.
Thank you. I can totally understand if you are not an educator finding it difficult to invest money in furniture. It's like trying to say, what does physical space have to do with your evaluation? That's part of the teacher evaluation every year. Physical space is something like, what's a building? What is there more than it's just there? I think we have learned a lot about education over the years, and so when we talk about sitting in a room in a static position, staring forward for an hour at a time, we know that that is not an effective way to learn. So the point about I don't care if a child learns, ... doesn't really matter, whatever you said after that, we know what works well, and the concept of flexible seating does have data that supports increased student engagement and increased student outcomes. So coupling that with the fact that these chairs are decades old, look at this auditorium. Only a couple of years ago, this auditorium looked like a relic out of the 1970s. And the idea of this physical space making a difference in how you feel and experience learning in that space is very tangible. And so I want to make sure that as someone who works with children, as somebody who sits in classrooms, as somebody who struggles to sit still myself, there is a great deal of research support for the things this gentleman talked about, the things Mrs. Nace talked about with flexible seating. We have a lot of flexible seating at the high school as well in a number of our classrooms. There was a couple of years ago, we invested quite a bit in some flexible seating at the high school to really positive outcomes for that too. So I recognize that it feels like, why are we spending money on a chair if we have a chair? But it's because we've learned that kids need more than just sitting in a room to be able to effectively learn. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Oldham.
I have another question.
Yes, Mr. Oldham.
So, what, for the gentleman that from Corbett, what is the #1 selling chair for middle schools? And is this considered a top seller for middle schools? And what would be the second best option?
So the top selling option for middle schools is the Intellect Wave chair. The second option that we see in terms of middle schools is this chair. I believe it comes down, quite honestly, is to price point. You were also talking about 2 different chairs of function, mobility, and storage as well.
What about the third and fourth?
Third and fourth chairs, we are looking at the KI Limelight chair, is also in the middle school. Beyond that, you're looking at the KI Strive chair, and each chair and those two chairs specifically are static chairs.
Very good.
Okay.
Mr. Flynn?
Yeah. You know, I can totally understand how someone who doesn't live in the district and is not paying taxes would support this. But for those of us who are in Big Spring and who are paying taxes through my rent, Mr. Myers, through my rent, but who are paying taxes, don't want this.
Lisa?
I'd just like to remind everyone that the glass furniture we had lasted for 40 years plus. I mean, we can't date it yet. Maybe if they found invoices, I don't know. But as far as we know, 40 plus years. It's not like we're looking to replace this again in several years. We can only hope that it would last decades again. I mean, it's due for an upgrade. I guess it's just the cost. Considering they lasted 40 years, I don't think $200,000 is that much for 40 years of use.
I'm going to call what we're done with the committee of the whole at this time, so we can move on to the regular board meeting, unless there's any major objections. Yes, Mrs. Booth.
As far as the research that you talked about being done on these chairs, how was that conducted? Was this research where we side by side compared another classroom teaching the same curriculum that had like a standard desk and chair? And also, did we do a safety study on number of incidences or unplanned descents to the floor that falls, as we say in nursing world, on a regular classroom set up with a desk and regular 4-foot chair, or chair with 4 feet? And was there safety data collected during this research?
Great question. I would have to ask the manufacturer for more specifics. What I do have is I have the pamphlet that is the result of that survey or of that research. I also want to make sure that I stand corrected. It is 9 schools and not 12 schools. All the same distribution of 30%, 33%, 33%. But of that said, I am happy to share this, and I can follow up on that question in and around the breadth and the scope of that research.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Thank you, Mrs. Smith, for all the input and work you put into this so far. At this point, I'm going to ask that we consider adjourning the committee of the whole. Do I have a motion to adjourn? A motion, Mr. Shea. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Myers. There is no discussion. I assume that everyone's voting in the affirmative unless I hear negative or abstaining. Committee of the whole is adjourned. I'd like to move into the regular board meeting for Big Spring School District at April 7, 2025, 7:30. It is now 7:58, so you didn't miss anything. If you're just joining now, 7:58 is the time. Apologize for being late. A good discussion was held about furniture as well as our police staff. At this point, I'd like to call the meeting to order and open the meeting with the President leading the pledge to the flag. Please rise to your I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you all for coming, and those that will join us online. We hope tonight will be informative, that we make good decisions, and that we can be unified in discussing the topics that are important to not only our students, but our community and us as a board. I would like to report that we did have executive session immediately following the March 17, 2025 meeting to discuss legal matters. And also we did have a board met this evening at 6 p.m. to discuss personnel matters. So there were 2 executive sessions. No official action was taken at those times, but we did have a discussion among the board at those times. Student staff recognition and board reports. I have a note that we do not have any this evening. Is that correct, Dr. Jonathan? Correct. Thank you. Reading of correspondence. Do we have any correspondence this evening? Thank you. Recognition of visitors, we ask that everyone has signed the list on the back. It's important for us to know who was here. That we're aware of those in attendance. We do apologize. First of all, you probably noticed Mr. Over is not with us. Mr. Over may be acted on this evening as a resignation. Mr. Over was appointed to a position with Borough Council for Newville, and that is another elected position, so you cannot, under Pennsylvania law, hold two elected positions at the same time. So he has submitted a letter of resignation. And Mr. Hippensteel, can you hear me, Mr. Hippensteel?
I can.
Very good. Mr. Hippensteel is with us via remote. He has to be able to chime in this evening. So we have an 8-member board this evening that we will be working with, and we will tell you a little bit more about the process when we get to Mr. Over's resignation letter, what we're going to do next to fill that seat. So we have recognition of visitors. Thank you. We'll now move into public comment period. Please submit the yellow cards. Keep your comments to approximately 3 minutes so that we can keep the meeting moving at this time. I'll start the public comment with Mr. Michael Deal, please. Thank you, Michael, for coming.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to offer prayer, so those that wish, please join me. Father, we invite your presence here this evening, that your agenda, Father, is far above our agenda. And we just ask for your wisdom upon our board, upon the administration, that they would make sound decisions, decisions that will be a blessing to the students, to the teachers, to the taxpayers of this district. Lord, anything that is contrary to your word that would be against you or against the children of our district, we ask that you expose it and remove it. We thank you for your care and concern for each one of us, and we bless you and honor you now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Deal. Thank you for coming. Next, we'll move to Laura Kaufman, please.
Good evening. I would first like to point out that on February 20th, the Big Spring School Board approved the Operation Lost Sheep Committee. The name of the committee was subsequently changed to the Disenrollment Investigation and Grievance Committee. Its responsibilities were not changed. Those were investigate and identify the reasons why students are leaving the Big Spring School District for cyber charter schools or charter schools, and provide comprehensive findings along with action items to the Board of Directors for consideration and implementation. The results have been presented and recommendations have been made. This committee has fulfilled its responsibilities. However, this committee continues to dig through the 26 surveys that they received to try to justify why they're making decisions for the 2,500 students who have stayed. That's less than 2% of our student population. I am a taxpayer. I am also a parent. No one has asked me why we stayed. I'm going to tell you why we stayed. 1, because of the innovations that our teachers bring into the classrooms, because of our teachers' dedication to doing everything they can to help every student learn. When my children were at Newville Elementary School, there was a mentor program, so students who had difficult times could come in early and meet with a teacher, with another student, so that they could build friendships. The DIG committee was not created to investigate bullying. Have my children been bullied? Yes. Do you know what was successful? A team of 5th grade teachers, their principal, the school counselors, worked together with 5 girls in elementary school for a great outcome. 4 of those students are still at Big Spring. 4 of those students are in classes together. They're friends. our teachers, our faculty and staff, they know what they're doing. I would like you to ask the 2,500 students who have stayed why we've stayed. Do you want to know why we're going to leave? We're going to leave because school directors don't take into consideration that there is a building full of experts here who have dedicated their lives to our students, who are dedicated to graduating successful Bulldogs. Let's listen to our experts. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam Ogle, please. Dr. Ogle.
Thank you. I'd like to start by actually responding to a dig that has happened multiple times in public comment by some individuals that seem to think I am somehow not being transparent. I am a high school counselor who works here at Big Spring. I live in Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania, where I am a property owner and a proud taxpayer. I come and talk at these meetings because I have the board policy right to do so as an employee and as a parent. I choose not to go to the Boiling Springs board meetings because even though I pay taxes there, my kids don't go there. So I don't really have any business going and talking about what's going on at Boiling Springs. Here is where my family is. And so if there were affordable housing options here in Big Spring, and I had not refinanced during the pandemic with incredibly low rates, I would potentially consider living here. We look at housing all the time. There is no secret. I'm an invested community member. I'm not just an employee, I'm a parent, I coach, I volunteer, I'm an advisor. So let's just get that out of the way up front now. I have good working relationships with the board, great working relationships with our administration, and probably know the names of almost every employee that work here. So I just want to make sure that that is known where my perspective is coming from. And so putting all that to the side, I would actually like to speak about agenda item 9J just for a moment. Which deals with the request to enter into an agreement to commence legal action against social media companies. So I will be the first to say that cell phones and social media have a documented negative effect in the lives of children. That is a fact. My own dissertation, as I am a doctor, examined the impact that cell phones have on student development, and I do believe that we as a society have a lot of work to do to mitigate the negative influence this technology has in the lives of our children, while also simultaneously teaching them how to use it responsibly. I would highly recommend anybody interested in this subject read the book The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. It's very accessible, easy to read, fantastic book. Wish it would have existed when I was writing my dissertation. Came out like 4 months after I had defended, so great. But all that said, I really don't believe it's an appropriate thing to allow our school district, and by extension our children, to be pulled into a large nationwide lawsuit as presented here. While I do not pretend to be an expert on class action lawsuits or litigation in general, this action seems beyond the scope of what school legal services generally provide for school districts. However noble the intent of this particular lawsuit, I don't particularly care for my children or the Big Spring School District being pulled into nationwide litigation. And that's feedback I provided when we were talking about solicitors in the past. I know that there's other litigation that our current school solicitor is pursuing in these class action models, and so that's just a perspective and an approach to school legal services that I disagree with, and for that reason, I would discourage us from voting in the affirmative on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. Charlotte McDonald, please.
I'd like everybody to please refer to section 600 of our policy manual, code 610. The board shall, after due public notice, advertising for competitive bids, purchase furniture, equipment, school supplies, and appliances costing $18,900, subject to adjustment or more, unless exempt by statute, The board shall advertise once a week for 3 weeks. 3 weeks in not less than 2 newspapers of general circulation. Have we done that? Okay. I want to explain to everyone the difference between pride, as in bulldog pride, and pridefulness. To be proud of our work, our children, schools, and community shows that we value these things deeply. We have demonstrated how important they are by the effort we put forth to make them outstanding. This kind of pride is a good thing. It brings joy to those around us. It gives a root to a deep sense of self-worth and belonging. It pushes us to succeed in everything we do. To be proud of one's accomplishments, however, is not the same thing as pridefulness. When we confuse being bulldog proud with stubborn pridefulness or a greedy pride born from a keeping up with the Joneses mindset, we forfeit our right to be bulldog proud. We must be mindful that our district has one of the highest poverty levels in our IU. With this in mind, we must keep our taxes low so we are not burdening our tax base out of existence. Wasteful spending on unnecessarily prideful luxuries must stop. Do we really need $178 designer desks and $222 luxury designer chairs for our students? Even my personal office furniture costs less than that. Why do our students need chairs on wheels? Do our teachers and parents want to deal with that safety risk? Casters also create classroom distraction. I'm pulling my child out of a Big Spring because the desks and chairs aren't stylish enough, said no parent ever. However, people will move out of our district when they are taxed into hardship by wasteful spending. Big Spring has no need to spend $209,000 on designer chairs and desks. This is not a need. It is a want. Please exercise fiscal responsibility over pridefulness. Big Spring is not a private prep school.
Thank you, Charlie. You want to explain, please?
Hello, thank you for this. I wanted to comment on something that Ms. Shade said earlier, and she pointed out that we have was it a $5.1 million surplus? Was it 5.2? I forget. $5 million surplus. I just want to point out that the year before, we had a $4.5 million surplus. And before most of you new board members were elected, the very meeting before, they transferred money out of the capital, or transferred money into the capital reserves. I believe it was $4.2 million, so that they could raise taxes. So they raised taxes even though they had a surplus. Now, who remembers last year? It made the paper, but I actually have the projections. If we did not raise taxes, and we just kept it at zero, this year we would be $1.3 million in the hole. And then the next year it would be 2.7, and then it gets scary 5 years from now. You're like $7.5 million in the hole. So I just want to point out that they were off by over $6 million, almost $6.5 million. So this is the game. And this is the game that they're going to play with you, school board members. They're going to say, oh no, we're going to run out of money. It's going to be in the paper, as it was. It was in the Sentinel saying how we weren't going to have enough money, we were going to run a deficit. People in this room said, you're being irresponsible for not raising taxes. and yet we have a $5 million surplus. I want you to think about that. So when they tell you, oh, we need this, we need to raise taxes for this, to put it plainly, they're lying. The evidence and data shows that they're lying. So what I would encourage you to do is request that they submit to you a budget that cuts taxes by 1%. And then I want you to look at that, because here's what they're going to do. This is part of the game. They're going to choose the most politically damaging things to cut. They might cut FAA, or they might cut important things. So look and see what they're choosing to cut and ask them, why did you do that? And it's a way to manipulate you so that you don't cut their spending and cut their amount, and it encourage you to raise taxes so that they have more money. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Sally Linder, please.
Good evening, board and members of the public. I wish to address various items with respect to the agenda for this evening and the board meeting minutes for March 17th, together with the agenda items, which are 9I and 9J. Now, with respect to approval of the minutes, which I believe is the next item on your agenda, I would suggest that someone on the board offer an amendment to delete the second sentence of the meeting closing, the adjournment, 13B, of the March 17th minutes. It reads, President Wardle announced the board will adjourn this evening to an executive session to discuss legal matters. That was not part of the meeting recording. The motion for adjournment had already occurred, and I would encourage the board to follow law and order. And the law and the Sunshine Act in this state say that the meeting is adjourned when that motion is made and approved. It also says you may engage in executive sessions, and I understand the reason for executive sessions. But there is a limitation. And the procedure under the statute is that the reason for holding the executive session must be announced at the open meeting occurring immediately prior to the executive session. So I would suggest that that did not actually occur. I listened to the tape. I listened to the official version that is on the Big Spring website, and I also listened to the tape that had been made by the BSSD Truth group. I listened to both of those to the beginning, and I realized that the unofficial recording started not exactly at the beginning of the meeting. It was very close, but it wasn't the exact beginning. So I found the tape on the school website, and I listened to that. There was no announcement at the beginning of the meeting, and there was no announcement at the end of the meeting. But it appears in the minutes as though, and the implication is that that was properly done. I don't believe it was. I believe the board needs to follow the rule of law and order, and that is due process. We all count on those as core and fundamental principles that ensure fairness in civil matters as well as criminal matters, and that we have heard a lot, and you have heard a lot of words in the last year at meetings like this concerning 14th Amendment rights, First Amendment rights, but I would suggest that you need to follow those, and you need to follow them in a fair and even-handed manner. And I would suggest that the process here and the problem with your item 9I, the recommendation for a motion to ratify the settlement, refers to the federal case that was filed in the Pennsylvania Middle District by Mr. Flynn and Mrs. Reinford against the school district in 2022. And in that case, I would point out to you that on the docket entries, and I think you probably are well aware of this, or you, in general you are, that this case was filed on June 16th of 2022, and it was terminated on March 25th, 2025. It was terminated on that date by order of court that reads, "It is ordered that judgment is entered in favor of the plaintiffs, Lawrence Flynn and Arlene Reinford, in accordance with the offer of judgment, document 101, agreed upon by the parties. Accordingly, the clerk of court is directed to enter judgment in favor of the plaintiffs and to close the case." Now, if you look at document 101, the offer of judgment, it is very specific that the defendant makes this offer of judgment as to plaintiff's claims set forth in the above captioned action. This offer of judgment is being made to plaintiffs Lawrence Flynn and Arlene Reinford. Judgment shall be entered against defendant and in favor of the plaintiffs. Judgment shall consist of the following: judgment be entered in favor of the plaintiffs and against the defendant school district on issues of liability as alleged in the plaintiff's amended complaint. A declaratory judgment be entered in favor of plaintiffs and against defendant school districts, declaring former Board Policy 903 unconstitutionally void and unenforceable as it violates the First Amendment rights of the free speech and petition. C, a declaratory judgment to be entered in favor of the plaintiffs and against the defendant school district for the constitutional violations stemming from defendant temporarily banning plaintiffs under a prior version of Board Policy 903 from in-person board meetings from February through July 2022, and from making public comments at these meetings in violation of plaintiffs' First and 14th Amendment rights. And it goes on. And then in paragraph 5, it says, well, let me back up to E under 4. An award of nominal damages to plaintiff Flynn in the amount of $17.76. A separate award of nominal damages to plaintiff Reinford in the amount of $17.76. And in paragraph 5, in addition to the foregoing, defendant offers to pay reasonable attorney fees and costs incurred by plaintiffs under the following conditions. A, reimburse documented and non-duplicative costs and plaintiff's attorney's fees for this action not to exceed $81,000. As part of document 101.
You spoke well over the 3 minutes. You're over 5 minutes now. Is there any way you can come to a conclusion for the board, please?
I wish to note that this offer and acceptance was made prior to your board meeting. It was documented and filed on March 17th, 2025. You held your executive session after the board meeting, after 8:39 on the 17th. Now, there has been comment that this settlement will cause no cost in taxpayer dollars and that insurance will cover it. I'm assuming that that's your E&O insurance, but I would like you to verify that. And my experience has been that all E&O insurance has a deductible. That deductible, I've heard it said, but I do not know if it's true, has already been paid by the school district, in which case you have expended taxpayer dollars in this settlement. And if you now adopt the motion that you propose to adopt under 9A, it says that you move that the Big Spring School District ratify the settlement of the case captions Lawrence Flynn et al. Versus Big Spring School District, which is filed in the United States District Court for the Middle District of Pennsylvania. And it goes on to say that the ratification confirms payment by the district's insurance carrier of the legal fees and nominal damages in the amount of $81,000 to the plaintiffs and their counsel. No district funds are being utilized to pay the settlement. If you pass that motion, then any dollars that you have spent that are taxpayer dollars are not properly spent. And if you read the wording and you say the nominal damages in the amount of $81,000 to the plaintiffs and their counsel, the stipulated offer of judgment says a direct payment to counsel. I don't think it would be appropriate for the school district to be entertaining any fee splitting between attorneys and plaintiffs. And I would like you to answer that question about the amount of the deductible that has been paid, when the deductible was paid, who the E&O carrier is, and document that in fact no tax dollars will go into the payment of this judgment. I would also point out to you that in November of 2024, there is an order of court in the Middle District ordering briefing on the issue of whether or not the district had conceded liability in this case. There's nothing in your public meeting minutes that discuss this case, possible settlement, or anything about the status of this case. I think you have not followed through with your obligation to make any decision with this case in settlement in a public meeting. I realize that there is a CYA provision in a case in Pennsylvania that allows you to do this ratification, which saves you from being sued in county court by electors of this district asking for your removal as board members. But I believe that from now forward, you should take it very seriously that all decisions that you make with respect to these matters should be, the decision should be announced in a public meeting. I also point out to you that, as I told you, the docket shows that this action was filed June 16th, 2022, and it was terminated March 25, 2025. But I also want to point out to you that there is an existing county court case that was filed in September of 2022.
I recognize that we should ask the speaker now to be seated. We appreciate your comments, but at this time, we'd like to move forward and give fair comments to the other speakers. Thank you for your comments.
I want to point out to the board that if you do not amend that and you do not do something with respect to the open county case, you are exposing the district further to judgment and civil liability.
Thank you. Mr. King, do you have any comments about this at this time, or anything you'd like to share in regards to the case and the ratification this evening?
Stern, can I-
Mr. King was not counsel for the district.
What's that?
Mr. King is not counsel for the district in this matter.
I understand that he is counsel for the district now, and he is the one that we go to for advice.
Thank you. I was not counsel for the district in this case, but I was involved with discussions at the end when the case was resolved. I'm a person who spends a lot of time in court and in the United States District Courts in all the districts of Pennsylvania. This case was conducted, the settlement of this case was conducted under the auspices of a federal magistrate judge in the United States District Court for the Middle District, which is Big Springs, part of the Middle District of Pennsylvania. The Sunshine Law does not strictly apply to discussions that school board members have with their lawyers, and so the provisions of the Sunshine Act don't govern those discussions that take place with respect to settling a case, particularly when there's not a meeting until after the settlement discussions have taken place. In this case, the Big Springs School District was ordered to come to court, and they did. Stock and Meter represented the district throughout this proceeding. They were appointed, they were of course a solicitor before me, but they were also appointed by Utica Insurance, who was the district's insurance carrier. The action that's being taken tonight is an action to ratify, in other words, to bring it to the public and let the public see that there are at least 5 members of this 9-member board who support this settlement. And yes, it is true that an offer of judgment was made. Rule 68 is a federal rule that allows for the defendant to make an offer to the plaintiff. And when they do that, the defendant has an opportunity, I believe 14 days, to accept or deny that offer of judgment. If they accept the offer of judgment, then the case is settled. So what is happening tonight is entirely appropriate. The school board is going to vote to ratify, I trust they will, ratify the settlement so that the public in Big Spring is fully aware of what happened and that there are 5 people who support the settlement. The settlement includes not only the payment of money, but it includes comments in the offers of judgment with respect to an earlier policy that was in place in the district that was the subject of the litigation. That was a policy that PSDA put out widely across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I suggest that many school districts have had that same policy, and it was problematic. I'm not defending it. I'm saying that policy was problematic, and it's what led to this litigation, or at least part of it led to this litigation. So what the board is doing tonight, and I thank the lady for reading the offer of judgment, and which she did, because it tells the public what exactly happened here. It also tells the public that the $81,000 in legal fees that are being paid by the district's insurance carrier, not by the district. There is a deductible on any of these policies. I don't remember the exact amount, but they're usually, and I don't remember the amount that Big Springs deductible is, but there is a deductible. And that deductible would have been met a long time ago by virtue of paying Stock and Meter their legal fees to defend the district. Once the deductible is met, then the insurance company pays the balance of the fees. The other issue, of course, is that when there is an opportunity to settle a case like this, and the insurance company comes to the district and says, we think this is in everybody's best interest to settle this case. If the district were to vote not to settle the case, or if the district didn't authorize their counsel to make this offer, the district potentially faces liability for not settling, in the sense that anything beyond that, the insurance company is able to say to them, we could have settled this for X, you pick up the legal fees, or you pay the balance of the cost. So this is a matter that has been discussed numerous times by the entire board here tonight, with legal counsel, with Stock and Meter, and with myself on several occasions, in order to update the board on what the potential settlement of this case was. And so what's before the board tonight is an opportunity to ratify the action that was taken, which settled this case.
Thank you. Arlene,
But you have
please.
not discussed the settlement in public, and this was not a settlement conference binding parties.
They're not
This was an
required to
offer of
discuss
judgment
settlement.
under
They're not
Local
required to do
68.
that.
Yes,
That is
they
not
are.
the law. They're not required to discuss it.
They're required to make the public,
Listen, you want to talk over me or you want to listen to me? Whatever you want to do is fine.
you know as well as I do that the public action needs to be taken at an open meeting.
That's not.
And this case
listen,
is, yes it
What I
is.
just said is absolutely correct. The board had to work with the insurance company and with the court and with their lawyers. They listened to Stockton Leader and they made an offer of judgment.
You did not advise the public.
Listen.
You did not advise the public.
They brought this, put it on the agenda so the public.
You should have the board,
I can't speak to you because you talk over me.
you should have the board follow due process.
Arlene Langford, please, would you please speak? Thank you. Mrs. Langford.
What a circus. I just have a quick 2 comments. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I have a suggestion in regards to 9L for the new furniture. I think an appropriate amount of money to spend on the new furniture would be somewhere around $100,000. I realize the desks are antiquated, even though they still work. I like to use things that are antiquated. Who cares if they're fashionable? But I understand we got to keep up with the times, and maybe they're a little small. So those who want to pay $200,000, I suggest somebody head up a fundraiser, and you don't use the taxpayers' money. I personally have spoken to many, many, many people in this district, elderly people who are very, very concerned about losing their places because of taxes. And those of you who are sitting on this board tonight, yes, there's people here who speak, whose kids are in the school, who should have a voice, but they didn't elect you. We did. So remember that. You do owe a responsibility to the people who live in this district. And I just want to make a quick comment on the DIG committee. I wanted to say this another meeting and didn't have enough time. I appreciate that there's people on this board who are willing to investigate why students are leaving so that we can make this a better experience for those who are still here. If I went through an intersection and had an accident and someone would say, we're not going to do an investigation on why you have an accident in this intersection. I went through that intersection 100 times and I didn't have an accident. Well, both can be true. You may have an amazing experience here, the people here, and there's those who are leaving who do not. We owe it to the students that are still here to investigate why people are leaving. So I just want to thank the DIG committee for all the work they put into this, and I believe we are going to see some resolution, and we are going to make this a better experience. So thank you again for your time and all your hard work.
Thank you, Arlene. Andrew Schaefer, please.
Good evening. First, I just want to thank each of the board members that I spoke with this past week about the desk and for that presentation that we received tonight. It was very informative. I can say I do think we need to replace the current desk, but I'm just not comfortable with only one option that's been thrown at the board for purchase. And I just have a few thoughts. First of all, I understand that similar chairs with casters, etc., are used at Cumberland Perry Votech, and they've had numerous issues with students running into each other and races, etc. So I don't know if it's the exact same chair, but it does have casters on it, and that's been my concern since day one of the caster situation. Also, we do these great chairs in middle school. And then what happens when they go to the high school? Because I'm told we have the exact same chairs at the high school. I don't know if that's true or not, but what are we going to do to address that? Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I've asked multiple people and I haven't had that confirmed. Also, they stated they really haven't looked at any other companies seeking out. We really should be prudent and search out similar price points and similar desk and chairs, just to be sure. So just tabling it tonight to see what else is out there. Doesn't mean you can't, make the same decision in 2 weeks when you come back. In addition to that district policy on purchasing and the current concern with budget and financing of possible increases, and I just ask, is it a good expenditure? $200,000 in the budget could be used on other very important things. It is a want versus a need, and we shouldn't just spend the money just because. I just ask that we table it, get multiple quotes. I want every board member to be very comfortable that this is the exact purchase we want, because let's hope that they last that 30 or 40 years. I mean, unfortunately, in today's world, that doesn't typically happen. I mean, I'm still on, well, I'm not even going to say it because I don't want my appliance to break down tonight, but the new doesn't always last as long as the older ones. Also, just changing subjects a little bit, I just look forward to you finally settling the lawsuit. It's been 3 years of due process for this suit, and it's very evident and supported by what was read here tonight, that pushing it farther would most likely have caused a significant cost to taxpayers and a verdict that could have possibly made case law on our district. I think everyone learned a valuable lesson, and I look forward to the district continuing to uphold the law. I think you've made some great strides over the last several years and really tried very hard to follow the letter of the law. Mr. King, thank you for everything you do. You do a great job. And I thank all the board members.
Thank you, Jennifer. Laura Mackey, please.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say a few things about the desks and the chairs. I do completely understand it is probably way overdue for some updates. And I do believe on what Kendra has said already that maybe we should not go for what is first presented to us and maybe look for other options a little less expensive. As we know, Mr. Oldham has already said that it's difficult to find a place in Big Spring area that's affordable. So right there, knowing that I'm a taxpayer in the Big Spring School District and I know others that are struggling, it just is an extreme expense that in the future we may have to go up on the taxes, because we all know we can't just do the 0% every year continuously. So also, I am one that has not put my son in Big Spring because of some issues in Big Spring. But I will say that he has a comfy chair at home with wheels, and that is not a good thing. My son, he is young, but he acts way older than his age. I have taken his chair on wheels away, and he now has a card table chair because his distraction is more into the chair than what the teacher is saying or teaching. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. I believe that's all the public comment cards I have for this time. I appreciate everyone that spoke, and thank you for your input. Moving on to approval of minutes, motion to approve the policy committee, the finance committee, the committee as a whole, the board meeting minutes for March 17, 2025, and the DIG committee minutes for March 31, 2025, as presented. Do I have a motion, please? Motion, Mr. Myers. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Shea. Do I have any discussion? Hearing none, I assume everyone's voting in the affirmative unless I hear negative or abstaining. Old business. Do we have any old business this evening from the floor? I see none. New business. Personnel action items. Dr. Darling, we have no financials that we have to approve this evening. Is that correct? No. Next board meeting. Thank you. Since we're on a 2-cycle, we do it once a month. Thank you. So to note to the public, all financials will be ready at the next meeting, which I believe is April 22nd. Remember, that's a Tuesday, not a Monday. Moving on to new business personnel action items, items 8A through 8F. Unless there's an objection, we will combine all new business personnel action items listed under number 8 into one motion. Any objection? Hearing none, I assume everyone will vote in the affirmative. Do I have a motion to approve, please? Motion, Mr. Myers. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Corman. Do I have any discussion? Hearing none, I assume that everyone's voting in the affirmative to approve items 8A through 8F, unless I hear any or abstain. Moving on to new business action items, starting with number 9A, recommended approval of agreement for educational services to provide educational services and support to students with intensive needs related to autism and spectrum disorder. The administration recommends the Board of School Directors approve the 2024-25 agreement as presented. Do I have a motion, please? Motion, Mr. Myers. Do I have a second? Second, Mrs. Shady. Is there any discussion? Yes. Go ahead, Mrs. Booth.
Just have a few questions that, as I was reviewing the contract, I came up with. I would just wonder if Dr. Darkins could address them for me. You have on here that the cost per student equates to $61,755. Of course, we are also securing these spots. How many spots are we going to be securing or holding, or how many students are we going to be sending to this?
I don't know that we have any pre-described amount for that. I think that's on an ad-need basis.
What is the cost to educate the students that would possibly transition to that now?
It's going to be dependent upon their related services. So that can vary from student to student based upon the amount of supplemental resource support they need.
And also on the contract on page 7, this is not started. This is not something that we're renewing currently. This is new and about to start. Is that correct?
This would be a new renewal contract. We currently use this when it's necessary.
Okay. So there's currently there's 4 or 5. One place it says 4 classes, and another place it says they're renting 4 classes, and they the contract is for 5 classes. You know, if there's 4 or 5 classes, it says 4 classes on page 5, and it says on the first page it says there's 5 classes, so it's a little confusing how many classes the districts altogether are charged for.
I'd have to confer with student services regarding the exact number before I speak.
And then also this was signed like on 3/14. It looks like the terms, it's set according to what's written here, that the term will set time that it's supposed to start, but it says it's going to end at the end of the school year 25, which is spelled out as June 30th, 2025. And if this is an addendum that they're just renewing it, I don't see that language added to this either. It's just, it was not there. So I feel like it maybe needs some work, honestly, to clarify what we're signing. The contract quality is very poor, there are words that are all jumbled together, which is readable. And then there's also no clause for like a high school scenario, should there be something occur where schools are shut down because of an emergency for an extended period of time. We don't have anything addressing the fact that then we wouldn't have to pay them $61,000 some per student for those maybe 2 months that were shut down or something to that effect. And we all know that did happen in the past. So I thought that was something that I would recommend that we do in the future if we are going to renew it. Not here, this is our the language really does not say that I can find. So I just want to bring it to myself.
That can certainly be an analysis that's done. It's not a problem.
So, Dr. Bradley, when is this current contract that we may be approving end?
In that contract, it says June.
Of this year. And then we may have a renewal or something else we would do come July.
That's correct.
So we're just finishing out the year with this contract.
That's correct.
Thank you. We had a motion and a second. Do I have more discussion from the floor? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. I assume everyone's voting affirmative on 9A, recommended approval of the agreement for the rest of this year till July 1, unless I hear a negative or abstain. Approved. Moving to 9B, recommended approval of proposed capital area intermediate unit general operating budget for 2025-26. It's resolution 250407-01. The summary of the capital area unit general operating budget for the 25-26 fiscal year has been reviewed by the administration. The budget represents no change in district contribution from the 24-25 budget. So there's no increase to what we will be paying to the capital area intermediate unit. The administration recommends the Board of School Directors approve the intermediate unit budget resolution for 25-26, which would take effect July 1. Is that correct, Dr. Johnson? Thank you. July 1 to June 30th of 26. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion, Mr. Myers. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Shea. Any discussion from the floor? Hearing none, I assume everyone's voting in the affirmative on the capital area intermediate unit, unless I hear any negative or abstain. 9C, recommended approval of capital project fund payment. The following invoices is for payment of the capital project fund, Mako Home Solutions, invoice 104 for $30,000. The administration recommends the Board of School Directors approve the invoice to be paid to the capital project fund. The project was approved at the March 5th, 2025 board meeting. Do I have a motion, please? Motion, Mr. Myers. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Corman. Do I have any discussion? Hearing none, I assume everyone's voting in the affirmative unless I hear a negative or abstain. Next, we have a resignation, unfortunately. Mr. Robert Oger, school board member for many years. Borough of Newville Board of School Director has submitted his resignation as school board director effective March 18, 2025. Do I have a motion? I have some comments after, but do I have a motion to approve Mr. Oger's resignation as Newville Borough Board of School Director as presented? Motion, Mr. Myers. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Shea. Do I have any discussion? Hearing none, I assume everyone's voting in affirmative to approve his resignation from the board dated this evening. It was dated March 18th, this letter, but it would be effective this evening. If there's no objection to it, then I assume it's voted in affirmative unless I hear a negative or abstain. Okay, so the next item, 9E, authorization for the administration to advertise the vacancy on the Board of School Directors. The administration requested authorization for the Board of School Directors to advertise the vacancy on the Board of School Directors for Newville Borough due to the resignation of Mr. Oger. So what needs to happen is Mr. Oger has resigned. He is the Newville Borough representative to the board. There are 9 board members. He is not with us this evening, so we have an open seat. There's only 8 of us. By Pennsylvania law, we need to fill that seat as quickly as we can, but uniformly that we're following all directions. So that seat will be advertised. We will take nominations. People can nominate themselves for that position. It will be a temporary position until the November election. We cannot elect someone from the community at this time because the primary was already passed, and we have to go with electing someone in November for that seat. There is at least one individual that is running, both Republican and Democrat, but we do not have a person from now until then. So we will take nominations that will be advertised in the paper. We'd like them as soon as possible. There will be a date, a deadline, and then the board will actually consider those nominations, have an interview process, and then get to the point where we will appoint by a vote of the board, majority of the board, for that position. That person will then hold that seat until the November primary, and a new person will be instituted at the December reorganizational meeting in December. Does anyone have a question on the process, or did I repeat it wrong, Dr. Grant? Anyway. Okay, everybody good where we're at? Okay, so what we're doing is to vote to advertise. For this seat, the hope is that the date will be before the next meeting, April 22nd, and depending upon the number of applicants, we'll decide the process of how many we interview and when, And then we hopefully will have someone either at the April 22nd or at the May meeting for appointing to the board. Every board member good with that? Any questions from the community? Okay. Did I have a motion, Don? I don't know. Okay. Motion, Mr. Myers, second. Second, Mr. Foreman, any discussion? Hearing none, I assume everyone's voting affirmative to advertise for the vacancy for the Borough of Newville, unless I hear a negative or abstaining. Recommended approval of fundraiser, 9F, Mr. Pennant, Director of Athletics, is recommending approval for a pottery sale to benefit the high school art club and Italian taxi to benefit the Tempest Club. The administration recommends the Board of School Directors approve the fundraisers as presented. Do I have a motion, please? Motion, Mr. Myers, do I have a second? Second, Mrs. Shea. Any discussion? Hearing none, I assume everyone is voting in the affirmative unless I hear a negative or abstaining. 9G, Lori Sherber and others are requesting permission to host the 2026 District 7 Elementary Song Fest in the Middle School Auditorium on Saturday, May 28, 2026, next year. The administration recommends the Board of School Directors approve the request to utilize the middle school auditorium. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion, Mr. Myers, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Foreman, do I have discussion? Hearing none, I assume everyone votes in the affirmative unless I hear negative or abstaining. 9H, approve electric transfer confirmation with Direct Energy. The district has prepared or participated in the Lincoln Intermediate Union Joint Purchasing Board of Electric Group Purchasing since December of 2015. The LIU Joint Purchasing Board is able to receive highly competitive prices due to hedging. This agreement would extend the use of the Joint Purchasing Board to purchase electricity through 2029, so it's a 5-year agreement. The administration recommends the Board of School Directors approve the electricity transfer transaction and confirmation with Direct Energy to December 30, 2029. The administration is authorized to sign the associated documents and contracts with this agreement. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion, Mr. Myers. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Shea. Do I have any discussion? Hearing none, I assume everyone's voting in the affirmative unless I hear negative or abstaining. Moving on to 9I, recommended motion to ratify settlement. I move that the Big Spring School District ratify the settlement of the case captioned Lawrence Lane and versus the Big Spring School District, which is filed in the United States District Court for the Middle District of Pennsylvania. Ratification confirms the payments entirely by the district's insurance carrier of the legal fees and nominal damages in the amount of $81,000 to the plaintiffs and their counsel. No district funds are being utilized to pay the settlement. Do I have a motion to approve? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Foreman. Do I have any discussion?
Who made the motion?
Yes, go ahead, Mrs.
Who made that
Booth.
motion?
I would like to thank Mrs. Linder for bringing that to our attention. I also would like to note that if one were to look at my emails, that was the only time that I received that settlement to see with my eyes, aside from looking it up online. Ms. Linder sending it out to us was the only time that we were privy to seeing it in our school email. As far as the timeline goes, I won't rehash much, but since we arrived to the board, we did not get briefed until we were sworn in December last year. Many of us were new, and we were not briefed by Southern Linder until April, I believe it was. So it was a little concerning to wait that long to get information on us that we had asked for it. Also, I would like to point out that while we were facing down this deadline, apparently to go to court, some negotiations had begun, and I was not included in any of those, and was not notified by President Wardle or Dr. Durante of any of the negotiations that were going on, and was not briefed on what was decided until after the signatures were obtained. So again, I'd like to thank Ms. Linder for bringing that to our attention, that the signatures were received before the board members were briefed on that. find that is alarming as well. I just want to bring that out to the attention of the public. One more thing is once again, the actual document that we are ratifying or swearing to was not available to the public even here. There was no link on this item on the agenda. I don't know if that prohibits us from voting on it, but for the sake of transparency, I wish that was available to the public to see. I don't know if that's still something we can move forward on or not. Mr. King weigh in on that. But if not, it should probably be something that we make sure we get to the website and attach to this so that it can be read by the public.
The board may proceed with it. It's here tonight for the public to see if they'd like, and so you have it here. I'm sure that normally these things, if there is a link sometimes, the documents are provided. But as long as they're here, it's here tonight for the public to see. It's appropriate to proceed. That's, and again, that's entirely up to the board.
May I address Mrs. Booth's comments?
You have 2 minutes.
I also...
Can you go to the mic?
Please.
Thank you.
I also note that there was a state case filed in Cumberland County, and it's docketed to number 2022-07166. It was filed on September 6th, 2022, and it's a separate action and complaint. And there's no indication of any resolution of that case, or the status of that case, or what is intended by the board on how to proceed with that case. I understand that you can hold an executive session to discuss the details of the strategy of proceeding with that case, but I bring it to your attention because it is not settled or resolved. I also point out that in many cases like this, there is initially a complaint filed in county court because the issue is the issuance of a preliminary injunction or not. That didn't happen in this case. This case was filed after the federal case, so the county case often proceeds first with a removal to federal court. Once the county court removes the case to federal court, it's a federal case. It's no longer on the county docket. That is not the situation here. You have still an outstanding action filed by Flynn and Rhineford, which you need to resolve.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Yes, Mr. Foreman.
Can I answer a question? So there's 2 cases. There was the First Amendment case and there was a Sunshine case. This is the First Amendment case, am I correct, that we're dealing with now? We've gotten no updates on the other case, so we have no clue what's going on with that. When we get filled in, I guess we'll let everybody else know, but we have only been dealing with the First Amendment case at this point.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, this is the motion to recommend to ratify the settlement in the federal court case. I assume everyone's voting in the affirmative unless I hear negative or abstaining.
I have to abstain due to conflict of interest due to personal relationships with the plaintiff.
President, you should take a roll call vote now.
Roll call vote. Okay, thank you. So a roll call vote has been suggested by our solicitor. Mr. David Fisher has abstained. Mr. Foreman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Ken Fisher, do you vote yes or no? Mr. Myers, do you vote yes or no? Yes. Mrs. Shea, do you vote yes or no? Mrs. Booth, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Hickensteel, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And myself, Mr. Worrell, will vote yes. I apologize, Mrs. Booth, if you should have called the roll. My apologies. I believe there's one abstention. We have one person that's not on the board, so the total vote could be 8. The vote is 7 in favor and 1 abstaining. Thank you, Mr. King, for your work on this and continued direction for the board. Moving on to 9J, motion to authorize attorney-client fee contract. Motion is made to authorize the district to enter into an attorney-client fee contract with the France Law Group, California, and Dylan Canvas team of Butler, Pennsylvania, on social media companies, Meta, TikTok, YouTube, etc. Said action shall be for the purpose of claiming money damages. The attorney-client fee contract shall provide for a contingent fee of 25% of the recovery. Expenses needed to fund the litigation shall be advanced by the law group. The district shall not be responsible for any fees or cost reimbursement in the event that there is no recovery in the action. The school board president and/or district superintendent are authorized to sign the attorney-client fee contract. Do I have a motion to enter into the basically social media contract with these attorneys with no district costs and a 25% if there's any fees collected? Did I present that well, Dr. King, Mr. King?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion, Mr. Myers. Do I have a second? Second, Mrs. Shea. Do I have discussion from the floor?
I would like to address that.
You've had 2 times to address the board at this time, ma'am. I'm going to have to deny your request at this time. Thank you.
And I would like to put on the record that I do have a comment about that fee agreement, and I would like to address the board, but I understand you're not going to allow me to.
Thank you. Your objection is noted. Do I have any other discussion from the board? Hearing none, I assume everyone's voting in the affirmative for the social media contract investigation, unless I hear any negative or abstaining. Request to distribute 9K, request to distribute a new student survey. The DIG committee requests a motion to distribute a new student survey to parents and students who were new to the district during the 24-25 school year, that's this year, to be sent out prior to the end of the school year, that's the end of June 1st, utilizing the same survey as last school year. This is being requested by the DIG committee. Do I have a motion, please? Motion, Mrs. Booth. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Foreman. Do I have discussion? Hearing none, I assume that everyone's voting in the affirmative to mail out the survey, unless I hear a negative or abstaining. I have 1 negative. Do I have others? Okay. The vote is 7 to 1 that we are going to distribute the new student survey. Motion passes. 9L, recommended approval to purchase middle school furniture. The administration has discussed the need to replace middle school furniture and has secured a quotation from Corbin Incorporated for desks and chairs at approximate cost of $209,697. The administration recommends the Board of School Directors approve the purchase of middle school furniture as presented, which will be paid from the general fund budget. Do I have a motion? Motion, Mr. Myers. Do I have a second? Second, Mrs. Shea. Do I have discussion? Yes, Mrs. Shea.
Dr. Durante, does the district need to obtain multiple bids as we go through CoStar?
CoStar satisfies multiple bid. CoStar is the process of bidding.
Thank you, Dr. Durante. Thank you for the question, Mrs. Shea. Any other questions? Yes, Mrs. Booth.
I know a lot has been said about the cost of these chairs and the need, if we even need new furniture. Obviously, what we have is old. They do still sell it. I think they were designed and probably they're still selling them at the same size for full-size adults and full-size students. But I do understand that having the separate chair table is comfortable to move in and out from for mobility's sake, especially in a classroom. However, after doing some research, I found out about this. One, as a nurse, I'm very against the caster situation. I've seen professionals racing chairs and wheels in the hallways. I've seen them falling off the chairs. My husband has seen more than the one willing hand in the maintenance department fall off of chairs as casters. They thought it was there and didn't know about it. So that does happen. It's reality with casters, unfortunately. They are convenient, but they are also dangerous. But beyond that, I looked and was doing a little shopping around for just a basic looking desk, something like we would have seen. I felt that You know, I've seen them, they look a little more sturdy than what I thought from the pictures and what I can see online. But that being said, they are very expensive for what they are, and they have this look like, oh, this is new. I'm not really a fan of things that aren't tested and tried, especially when we're putting them in new classrooms with our middle schoolers. And I'm sure they've been around for a few years, but I feel like the tested and tried true options are better. That being said, a quote from Hertz Brothers for 500 new desks that are the basic desk with a book box and a basic, comfortable looking Duraflex stack chair. Grand total is $78,406 delivered. So, you know, if we buy the chairs that are on here on this agenda all at once, we're going to find out all at once if they're a good move or not. One, if we're going to do something like that, it should be 1 or 2 classrooms, and then we should research ourselves, use the data ourselves, not spend the money first, and then find out it was a mistake in a few years. But beyond that, if you extrapolate that $209, almost $210,000 based on our real estate taxes, which is over 31 million, almost 32 million, my personal share from my own household, based on my real estate bill, turns out to be $27.46. So that's extrapolated to every one of our constituents' homes. My home's valued by the county at $277,000. So you can do the math, how much us deciding to make this choice for these chairs is going to cost us. Now, if we bought the other chairs and desks, and then we still have an option for chair and desks that separate, a little more traditional looking. My share for this one quote that I have would be $10.27. In addition, we would have an extra $131,000 to do something with. If we're concerned about PKTs in the district, one of the biggest things on the Thought Exchange survey in 2018 was they want our students to have great experiences. You know, my daughter, her trip to Washington, D.C. was canceled. And I don't believe they've been going since we haven't really been doing updates on field trips. But if we want to keep kids in the district, we could buy desks that are comfortable and reasonable and tried and true, and we could still have an extra $130,000 to send all the kids that have missed their DC field trip to DC again next year. So we are a very big draw to keep kids disciplined and not bullying, but it's one of the biggest issues that we found in our minor amount of respondents on our survey. However, I do care about 2%. I think that's important to listen to 2% as well. And we'll be rolling that survey out more soon, so we'll find out more on what's currently happening. But if we could offer that as an incentive to our students to behave next year and also stay in school, I think that would go a long way. And that's just money that we could just reallocate.
Thank you, Mrs. Booth, for your comments. There's a motion and a second on the floor to purchase the furniture. Do I have any other discussion or amendments, or do we ready to vote?
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Epstein.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this discussion. I'd like to see a couple different options for the what the Corbett Industries stated that they had second, third, and fourth choices. I just want to see the options that are presented in front of us and make a decision from that point.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Your motion to table. Do I have a second to table? Second by Mr. Corman. Table means that we will table this, get more information, possibly get other quotes, get more information from Corbett, and then bring it back in another meeting. Is there any discussion on tabling at this time?
I just wanted to say I'm not opposed at all to new furniture whatsoever. I think it's most definitely needed. And I do feel that these desks allow for these new desks that they have allow for them to move the classrooms together and collaborate better. I don't think that would happen with the old style desks that might be of other options to the ones that are angled that can't quickly move those around like the newer styles. So that, again, I'm not opposed at all to the new furniture. I think it's most definitely needed since I sat on these chairs back in 1990. So that's all the comments that I have.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Do I have more comments from the board on tabling the motion on the chair? Yes, Mr. Farmer.
And I would definitely second Mike's opinion on that one too. I'm not against getting new chairs. I know the desks we have are old, they're dated. And we are working classrooms in a different manner than what we used to. And being able to move the desk out of the way and have a group of just chairs, especially in like a reading class as you're discussing a book, you know, that is a good thing. So I don't mind the separation of desks and chairs. I do want to remind everybody that one of the reasons why we purchased a desk and chair combination was they were cheaper, and the second reason was you couldn't lean back with the legs. Looking at the designs of the chairs we have here in front of us, the chair, it looks like the casters or the legs are in catty-corner fashion, so it makes it much harder to lean back on it, so I kind of like that. But again, I'm not against the separation of desk idea, I'm just against, you know, I would like to see better pricing options.
Thank you, Mr. Farmer. Any more discussion on the table? Hearing none, I assume everyone's voting in the affirmative to table the chair option to a later date, unless I hear any other abstention. Thank you. Dr. Durante, you will do some research for us and help us come up with another solution or the solution based upon your findings and bring some more recommendations to the board, please. And the board members can ask questions and investigate so that we can get the best option for our students. That concludes our regular business items for this evening. The rest of the items that I will announce are information items only. They may be voted on at a different time. Mrs. Lentz, business manager, provided the Board of School Directors with a memo on March 17 regarding the new annual conflict of interest process. The memo included a conflict of interest policy acknowledgement form and the conflict of interest self-disclosure form. The acknowledgement form, and if applicable, should be returned to Mrs. Lentz no later than this evening, April 7, 2025. I believe many have already completed that. Is that correct, Mrs. Lentz? Half the day, half the production gets in. Thank you. Contract and staff update. Dr. Sanders, Assistant Superintendent, provides the following contract and staff updates that are listed. Donation recognition, very important. The Big Spring School District received a donation of money from the estate of Richard Shaw, a former art teacher here. I actually had him as a teacher way back when, which is accepted by Superintendent Dr. Durante to benefit the middle school library. The Big Spring District received 2 donations of money in memory of Levi Zinn, a 1973 graduate, which were accepted by Superintendent Dr. Durante to benefit the high school FFA program. And the Big Spring School District received a donation of food items from Wise Markets, which was accepted by Dr. Durante to benefit the community meal prep event in the middle school FCS classroom. Also, 10D proposed updated policies. The administration has proposed the updated policies listed below. 216, student records, 2161, supplemental discipline records, and 2182, terrorist threat action threats and threat assessment. After the policies have been reviewed by the Board of School Directors, the administration will present the updated policies for the board approval at the April 22nd, 2025 board meeting. At this point, we'll move into board reports. Athletic Council, Mr. Fisher, please.
I have nothing this time, sir, but the next meeting is June 4th.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Building and Property Committee, Mr. David Fisher, please.
Nothing this time.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Seth Farman, Capital Area Unit Meeting.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Cumberland Prairie Area CPC, myself, and Mr. Hippenstall, I'd just like to report that the bids have come back. Good news, they were lower than what we expected. The district will be getting a little bit of money back because of the interest that we paid our amount in advance. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Durante, but we paid into the fund for the building construction. That money was deposited in an interest-bearing account, and we'll be getting some interest back from that. I should understand it correct. They're still working through a couple options, getting permits, getting everything in line so that building can be built and the additions made to the Cumberland Prairie Area CPC. I do know that many of our students have received letters of acceptance for next year for the VOTEC programs and more to follow. But that's exciting for our students. There's some tours going on, and the VOTEC is working through the NOCTI process, which is a testing process for certifications and to improve completers in the program at the VOTEC. So very exciting things happening there for our 130 some students that are attending the VOTEC and giving them certifications so when they graduate they can go right into the workforce. Mrs. Booth, Dig Committee, please.
We had a meeting tonight before this meeting, and we have another one scheduled for next week on Monday, April 14th at 6 p.m. out there in the Commons.
Thank you, Mrs. Booth. Thank you for your work. Finance Committee, Mrs. Booth, please.
Well, nothing really to report. Looks like our next meeting is coming up on April 22nd.
Correct. That will be before the next board meeting. That is a Tuesday also. Future Ready Comprehensive Plan, Planning Board Rep, Mr. Fisher, anything? Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Policy Review and Development Committee, Mr. Foreman?
Our next meeting is April 22nd.
I think that will precede the Finance Committee time. I think it's at 6, if that's correct, yes. So Policy Committee meeting is at 6 o'clock on the 22nd. South Central Trust, Mr. Foreman?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Tax Collection Committee, Mr. Fisher, David Fisher.
Received an email from Frederick Cameron, the Executive Director of the Tax Bureau, saying that the meeting for April 14th is canceled due to lack of meeting word requiring notification.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Seth Foreman, Wellness Committee.
Wellness Committee had their first meeting, and it went well, and we have a bunch of future projects that we're looking into that should benefit the district.
Thank you, Mr. Foreman. Future board agenda items. Does anyone have anything on the floor? Okay, moving into superintendent's report. Dr. Durante, please. Thank you for the information that's provided, and please share.
Enrollment update, we have 2,352 students that are actively enrolled in our district. That includes Keola and Carlisle Virtual Academy, 145 regular ed cyber students, 94 special education cyber charter students, 221 home education students, and 118 CTC students. Made a little progress with kindergarten registration. We're up to 79. We have 29 at Mount Rock, 22 at Newtonville, and 28 at Oak Flat. We've had a number of conversations relative to academic testing and performance. We are in that season right now, so there's communication that has been sent out like each one of the buildings, and it'll conclude. The final communications will go out tomorrow, so we'll be in the thick of that for the next month, month and a half. Mrs. Emily Moyer, Oak Flat Special Education, and Mr. Jesse Borger, Middle School English, have been nominated and awarded for excellence in education. They will be honored at a reception at the Carlisle Battle Barracks this Thursday, and congratulations to both of them for great jobs in the classroom. We are working on the RFP process for transportation. We had 2 comprehensive bidders for that particular service to our district. Our team has conducted interviews and is working through the final stages for that. We are hopeful to potentially have a board recommendation next meeting, which will be the 22nd, and if not, then it will be early in May. And conclude with some good news. The 45th annual Campbell Jazz Fest took place this past Saturday at the Grace Pollock Performing Arts Center in Camp Hill. Congratulations to our middle school and high school jazz ensemble for an absolutely outstanding performance. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Durante. Just a quick question, and maybe Mrs. Lynch, you could speak to this if you have anything. We've not received anything contrary to federal funding than what we knew before. Would we agree with that? We don't know.
There's been no delay in federal funding at this point in time.
Right.
There's
So
been discussions about sending it through the state levels, but there's been no interruption in service.
So we've received what we should have received or what we expected to receive at this point.
That is correct.
The future is unknown a little bit, but hopefully we will continue to receive the same levels or maybe more. But we'll see. Agree, Mrs. Lynch? Yeah, very good. Okay, from the floor, giving people a chance to speak. Mr. Hippensteel, I'll let you go first.
I just want to thank Mr. Over for his time and service on the board. Certainly learned a lot from him in my short period of time being on the board, so I think the community owes him a big thank you for his time and service. Also, I just want to speak about I hear a lot of the public about the desk and chairs, and I just want you to, in perspective, think about the 1,000 pieces of furniture at $200,000. And that seems like a lot, but I buy an office chair for my desk at work, and I pay $200 for this office chair, and it may last me 4 years. I would expect if we pay $200 for a chair at school, it's going to give us a long time of use, just like the ones that have lasted before. So I just want to let everybody keep that in mind about the cost of furniture and the longevity of what that furniture is supposed to last. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo. Mr. David Fisher. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Mr. Corman. Thank you, Mr. Corman. Mr. Ken Fisher.
I'd just like to say thanks to everybody for coming out. You made me think a little bit about the furniture deal too, so thank you for your comment. And also, good luck to Mr. Over. It was a compliment to help you do go out. And I thank you, you did a great job for me today.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher, for your comments. Mr. Myers?
Yeah, I also want to thank Mr. Over for his time to be put in here. And also, I'd like to ask Dr. Bronte with these donations that we received, and we could have a thank you going out to those folks.
Yeah, we take care of that right away.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Shea.
Okay. I thought I would take a few moments to share about the Big Spring School District Community Meal Prep Class. The event was in collaboration with the Weiss Markets and organized by 3 of our very own Big Spring freshman students, Ava Hutchinson, Eve Deitch, and Sophia Bond. There were 2 sessions offered in Mrs. Wiggins Middle School Cooking Lab, hosting a total of 30 families. These ladies went above and beyond and even offered childcare for anyone interested, with planned activities including toys, games, coloring, and a popcorn snack. I was able to attend the 3 o'clock session, which took place yesterday afternoon. During the meal prep class, we enjoyed a quick introduction from Mrs. Wiggum and our student hosts. We learned life skills during a workshop with Chef Keith Kucherick. We enjoyed family nutrition insights from Weiss Markets' Emily Baumgartner, and the families did community meal preparation together for the upcoming week, featuring turkey meatloaf, crock-pot Mexican chicken and rice, hearty vegetable pasta, and popcorn was provided for a sweet treat recipe of chocolate cinnamon popcorn. During the class, we prepared the turkey meatloaf, prepped the ingredients for the remaining recipes, and went home with a huge bag of groceries containing any remaining recipe ingredients. The class included double recipe ingredients for larger families and included aluminum pans and single-use containers for anyone who was unable to supply their own Maxwell pan storage containers and bags. Each family went home with a PASA Sustainable Agriculture folder, which included 4 meal prep recipes, a Weiss Dietitian Meal Prep 101 Tips and Tricks handout, a flyer on Weiss ways to eat on a budget, an insert on Weiss Nutrition Services, the March-April edition of Weiss Healthy Bites magazine, a Weiss Supermarket Fun Activity book, a flyer on nice safety tips from Penn State Extension. We were also provided with a $20 Weiss coupon, and each went home with a brand new Radish Chef knife. As a member of the community, I would just want to say thank you. Thank you to our 3 students, Ava Hutchinson, Eve Deitch, and Sophia Bonner for organizing the event. Thank you to Mrs. Wiggum for her leadership and use of the cooking lab. Thank you to Chef Keith Kucherick for the night skills workshop. Thank you to Weiss Markets' Emily Baumgartner for the family nutrition insights. And I'd like to thank Weiss Markets again for their generous food donations made toward the event. If anyone would like to support the future Big Spring School District food events that address food security and would like to order anything online from the ROD fundraiser, the items will ship directly to your home, and the school will get 40% back, which will be used to provide more community cooking events. The QR code and fundraiser link are on the right side of the visual, or if you prefer, feel free to reach out to myself or Mrs. Wiggum, and we'd be happy to get you the link directly. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you, Mrs. Shea. Mrs. Lee?
I'd like to take a moment and just thank Mrs. Lentz for working to improve our district. She's been hard at work, getting settled in, and learning a lot of things and working to improve lots of things, specifically ensuring that they're compliant with our conflict of interest requirements that we're handing the forms tonight. I really appreciate that. And also thank you, Mr. King, for your sound advice and for being here for us during a transition time. And also I'd like to take a moment and say thank you, Mr. Ofer. He personally was one of the great inspirations for me to decide to run for the school board. There were a lot of times when I was sitting out there in the crowd that things that he would come up with in response to some of the speakers were inspiring. And he's going to have some big shoes to fill here, so if we can find someone here to fill his seat, he definitely will be sorely missed by some as an eternal optimist.
Thank you, Mrs. Booth. In closing this evening, three things I'd just like to quickly address. Chairs and desks need to be a hot topic, but I share with each of you that you're all seated. And you're hopefully comfortable for the last 2 hours or however long it's been. As a former teacher of 33 years, many times I wanted my students to move. Not necessarily on casters and rolling across the floor, but I wanted them to be able to move because I knew their attention span was limited. And sometimes moving and spraying on the desk or this or that, whatever. Not to share my age, but I am 61 today, and if those chairs were here 45 years ago, I can attest to that. Now, I'm not saying that we'll get 40 years out of the new chairs, but if we did, that means those chairs would cost us $5,000 a year for 40 years. Or if they only last 20 years, that's $10,000. Normally, when we make a large purchase in our home or whatever, we kind of spread it out over time, and we do that with a mortgage. We're not doing that. We're going to buy a chair and a desk from somebody, and I don't know what the answer is, but we'll figure it out. But it's an investment in our kids. It's an investment in their education. It's an investment in their learning ability. If we can keep them active, keep them moving, and keep them attentive, then I think they have a better chance to learn. So hopefully the board will research, and Dr. Durante will help lead us, and we'll find the best option for the chairs for our district and for our students. Second one, Mr. Ober, quite a lead to me. I'm sorry to see him go. I had a couple of conversations, but he's making a decision to try to improve his community, the community of Newville. Newville has worked through a few struggles, but Mr. Ober feels he can make a difference. And I commend him for his choice. He would have liked to stay on and finish out his term, but he felt that this was the right move, and he was kind of recruited a little bit, but he also felt that this was a move that he could continue to make a difference and help Newville. And lastly, today is April 7th. Less than 2 months from today, we will be graduating another class of Bulldog Proud students from our buildings. I could ask the teachers, is the number 32 days left? I don't know, but it's something like that. It's always an exciting time of year. Concerts are coming up, activities, sporting events, sports banquets, academics, scholarships, all those things that our kids are looking forward to. And many of our kids will go to college, but even more will go to workforce and military and all those things that are exciting steps in their life. I wish those seniors well to finish out the year, but I also wish all the students to continue to excel and do their best. We are trying to provide unity, trust, and respect as a board to try to give them the opportunities to their future. I thank everyone for coming tonight, especially those who spoke. Hope you have a great evening. At this time, I'd like to call for adjournment. Do I have a motion, please? Motion, Mr. Myers. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Corman. There is no discussion. I assume everyone's voting in the affirmative unless I hear negative or abstaining. Thank you. Have a good evening. Meeting adjourned.